Hi everyone, so for today's video we're going to look at pipelines and how we could measure the latency and bandwidth and how we can look at it based on how long it takes for each station, how we can make each one faster, and how we do the calculations. So let's first get into some terminologies that we need to know about the pipeline. The first thing we need to know is that it's just like an assembly line. So you could see here that something goes in, starts from the left, it goes in, and then it follows, goes right, all the way out. So this side will be classified as in, and this side would be classified as out. And then a computer pipeline is a set of multiple hardware devices in which it fetches, decodes, and executes instructions in parallel and in series, and in order to maximize instructional bandwidth. So an example, we usually have an assembly line for cars. So you know that cars usually start off with like random parts. They start off, let's say if we go back here we have all the parts of the car. Then we go through the assembly line. So first it'll be like the mainframe, then maybe they'll start adding, I don't know, something else on the car, and then maybe they'll add a window or all the doors or something, and then it keeps going down the pipeline until it produces a finished product. And if we talk about instructional latency, the latency is the total time an instruction or car spends in a pipeline. So it's from start to finish. So example, this is how it's measured in minutes per car. So we have to know how long does that car take within that one pipeline. And then there's instructional bandwidth. It's the number of instructions finishing per unit time. So one car takes about 60 minutes, which is 1 divided by the slowest stage time. And we'll see these equations very shortly again. But here, von Neumann bottleneck, this is very important because when the person or robot is busy, you will see that it has to wait until it moves along the pipeline assembly line. So you can see over here when we go back, some stages take 60 minutes, some take 2 minutes. So as things go down the pipeline, if something takes a longer time and we don't have enough resources, then it's going to be stuck right here, and it will not be able to go through the assembly line until one of the cars or whatever is doing is finished. And then once it's finished, then we can take in more items here in this section of the pipeline. So that's von Neumann bottleneck. That's when it's stuck before getting to the next stage. And then super scalar architecture, we can resolve this bottleneck by adding extra hardware to the slowest stages. It just requires a lot more money or things to make it happen in parallel. So let's actually take a look at the diagrams in detail now. If I go to the first, let's start with something here. So let's say we start working here at 5 o'clock a.m. on the car, and I will just hide that panel there. And you can see here we have one person here that has to start work at 5 o'clock, and their station, it just takes 1 minute. So that one car that comes in here, it will be done at 5:01. Then the next person at the next stage has to pick up that car exactly at 5:01, and then it's going to be done, because it just takes 1 minute, it'll be done at 5:02. And then the car goes on to the next stage. It takes 2 minutes at this stage, so go from 5:02 to 5:04. And then this stage here, you can see here it takes 60 minutes, so in 1 hour. So it'll be from 5:04 to 6:04. That's when this person here has to start working on their stuff, which is starting at 5:04. But here, this person, you can see here they're waiting for this station to be done. It takes them so long in order to get to this stage here that the person who's working on this stage here really doesn't have to come to work until 1 hour later, which is around 6:05. And once the car is passed to them at 6:05. Takes 1 minute for them to do something. It's done at 6:06. It passes on. The next stage, it's done at 6:06, and then it's starting at 6:06, and then takes 1 minute. It'll be done at 6:07, and then the car is complete. So this is for the first car that comes in. And now if we try to have other things done in parallel, but it has to go through the waiting stages as well. So you can see here the first car, it's starting at 5, it finishes at 5:01. So if it finishes at 5:01, that means the next car can start at 5:01. So this one is the second car that comes in. And you can see here now it starts at 5:01, it ends at 5:02. And then this one, because this first car ended at 5:02, it can start the next car at 5:02, and it'll be done at 5:03. But here's a problem, is that it takes 2 minutes here and also 60 minutes here. So you could see when it's 2 minutes, it'll actually be done at 5:04. And then here, this car is done at 5:03. So we cannot just push this car in at 5:03 because it's still working on the car. It's not going to be done until 5:04. So what's going to happen is this car is just going to sit idle right here until it's the next one in queue and it can go into this stage. So once it's done here at 5:04, then it takes in the car. So here you can see it starts at 5:04, and then at 2 minutes past, it's 5:06 when it's done. And then here you can see there's another bottleneck. So the stages where there's a holdup, there's a queue, this is known as the bottleneck. And we could see here that it takes 1 hour, so that the first car will be done at 6:04. But because the second car is done at 5:06, it's actually going to be waiting here in idle until 6:04. So once that first car is done, then it could move the second car in. But because there's that bottleneck, it's going to have that waiting time. And then again, it's going to take 1 hour from here, 6:04 to 7:04. And then it's just going to keep going down as you see through the pipeline. So the bottlenecks are something that we need to see how we can resolve that issue. And if we go down here, we can see if we do the calculation first, we have this pipeline here where it takes 1 minute, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 60 minutes, and then 1 minute and 1 minute. If we add this all together, the instructional latency is however many minutes that entire pipeline takes. So it takes 66 minutes for one car to go through. So 66 minutes per car. That's the instructional latency. And then the instructional bandwidth, you will see that it is 1 divided by the slowest stage. So the slowest stage is the 60 minutes. So then we can just do 1 car over 60 minutes. So you just need to remember that you're always dividing by that slowest stage. You are not adding those minutes all together. And you can see here that the units are switched. Here it's minutes per car, and then the bandwidth is car per minute. But let's see how we could speed this up, because it's going to take a really long time in order to go through the pipeline if it's just doing 1 car at a time. But let's say if we can reduce each stage to 1 minute. So now here we have 1 minute at this stage, 1 minute at this stage, and then what this is saying is, I know that before it was 2 minutes, but now let's say we have 2 workers and each worker takes 1 minute each, but they're going in parallel. So technically it's just going to take 1 minute to do this entire stage. And then here we got 60 minutes for this, but then we got 60 different people who are helping out with, let's say, painting the car or putting something specific of the car together. And it just takes them 1 entire minute to finish this stage, because each person is finishing their section in 1 minute. And then this section takes 1 minute, and that section takes 1 minute. So now if we go back to the instructional latency and instructional bandwidth, The instructional latency, you can see here, takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes to finish the pipeline now, instead of 66 minutes. So now it'll be 6 minutes per car for the latency. And then the bandwidth, it's going to be 1 car per whatever the longest stage is. But you can see they're all equal in length. It's all 1 minute, so it doesn't matter. So it's just going to be 1 car a minute.